In the shared vulnerability of our experiences, we discover the power of human connection, the ability to support and uplift one another. The courage to be vulnerable is the courage to be authentic, to live in alignment with our true selves, even when it feels daunting. To lay bare our fears is to offer a gift of trust, a testament to the belief that our vulnerability will be met with kindness and understanding. The fear of being unaccepted can be a powerful force, but the desire for genuine connection can be even stronger. In the vulnerability of our shared humanity, we find the courage to embrace our imperfections, to accept ourselves and others as we are. To reveal our deepest fears is to open the door to intimacy, to create a space where genuine connection can flourish. The journey to self-love begins with the courage to be vulnerable, to embrace our flaws and imperfections as part of our unique beauty. True connection is found not in the absence of vulnerability, but in the willingness to share it, to create a space of trust and understanding. The fear of being judged often prevents us from sharing our vulnerabilities, but it is in these moments of honesty that we find our true strength. To share our fears is to create a space for healing, a sanctuary where we can be ourselves without fear of rejection. In the shared vulnerability of our stories, we discover the power of empathy, the ability to connect with others on a deeper level. The courage to be vulnerable is the courage to be real, to live authentically even when it feels uncomfortable. To lay bare our fears is to offer a testament to our humanity, a reminder that we are all vulnerable and imperfect. The fear of being misunderstood can be a powerful deterrent, but the desire for genuine connection makes the risk worthwhile. In the vulnerability of our shared experiences, we find the courage to be ourselves, to embrace our imperfections and celebrate our uniqueness. To reveal our deepest fears is to extend a hand of friendship, a gesture of trust, hoping that our vulnerability will be met with compassion. The journey to self-compassion begins with the courage to be vulnerable, to treat ourselves with kindness and understanding. True intimacy is built on the foundation of vulnerability, where the walls we've built around our hearts are replaced with open doors. The fear of being seen as weak often prevents us from sharing our vulnerabilities, but it is in these moments of honesty that we find our greatest resilience. To share our fears is to create a space for acceptance, a haven where we can be ourselves without fear of judgment. In the shared vulnerability of our stories, we discover the power of community, the ability to support and uplift one another. The courage to be vulnerable is the courage to be authentic, to live in alignment with our values, even when it feels challenging. To lay bare our fears is to offer a gift of authenticity, a testament to the belief that our vulnerability will be met with empathy. The fear of being unloved can be a powerful force, but the desire for genuine connection can be even more compelling. In the vulnerability of our shared humanity, we find the courage to embrace our imperfections, to accept ourselves and others as we are. To reveal our deepest fears is to open the door to understanding, to create a space where genuine connection can thrive. The journey to self-forgiveness begins with the courage to be vulnerable, to acknowledge our mistakes and treat ourselves with compassion. True connection is found not in the absence of fear, but in the willingness to share it, to create a space of trust and mutual respect. The fear of judgment often silences our deepest truths, but it is in the sharing of these truths that we find liberation and the potential for genuine belonging. The most authentic version of ourselves often resides beneath layers of fear, waiting for the courage to emerge. To acknowledge our deepest fears is to begin the process of dismantling their power over us. The vulnerability we hesitate to show is often the very thing that connects us most deeply to others. True strength isn't the absence of fear, but the ability to move forward despite it. Our inner landscape is a complex tapestry of emotions, and acknowledging them all is essential for inner peace. The fear of being too much often stems from a fear of not being enough. To share our inner feelings is to offer a glimpse into the soul, a gesture of profound trust. The journey to self-acceptance is a continuous unfolding, not a destination to be reached. In the quiet moments of self-reflection, we often discover the most profound truths about ourselves. The fear of appearing weak often prevents us from seeking the support we need. To embrace our vulnerabilities is to embrace the full spectrum of our humanity. The most profound connections are forged in the fires of shared vulnerability, where the masks we wear crumble and the raw, authentic self emerges, trembling yet hopeful. To lay bare the landscapes of our inner world, the shadowed valleys and sunlit peaks of our fears, is to offer a rare and precious gift, the gift of true intimacy. There is a quiet courage in admitting our imperfections, a strength found not in hiding our cracks, but in allowing them to be seen, knowing that true acceptance lies beyond the surface. The fear of being seen as flawed is often greater than the flaws themselves. It's the anticipation of judgment that casts the longest shadow, not the reality of our vulnerabilities. In the quiet spaces between our carefully constructed facades, the deepest yearnings reside, the longing for understanding, for a gaze that sees beyond the surface and embraces the soul within. To unveil the fragile parts of ourselves is to extend an invitation, a silent plea for empathy, for a safe harbor where the storms of our fears can find respite. The journey to self-acceptance begins with the courage to face the parts of ourselves we've long tried to conceal, to illuminate the hidden corners of our hearts. True connection thrives not in the perfection we project, but in the honesty we share, in the willingness to be seen in our entirety, with all our beautiful imperfections. The weight of unspoken fears can become an unbearable burden, a silent language that isolates us from the very connections we crave. To risk vulnerability is to risk rejection, but it is also to open the door to the most profound and transformative relationships where authenticity reigns supreme. The act of revealing our deepest fears is an act of trust, a leap of faith into the unknown, trusting that the heart that receives it will do so with kindness and compassion. In the vulnerability of our shared humanity, we discover the threads that bind us together, the common ground where empathy blossoms and understanding takes root. The fear of being unlovable is a universal ache, a silent question that echoes in the chambers of our hearts, seeking an answer in the eyes of another. To share our fears is to dismantle the wall we've built around our hearts, to create a space where vulnerability is not a weakness but a strength. The most profound moments of connection are often born from the courage to speak our truths, to reveal the raw, unfiltered emotions that lie beneath the surface. There is a quiet power in vulnerability, a strength found not in invincibility, but in the willingness to be seen in our fragility. The journey to self-discovery is paved with the courage to confront our fears, to shine a light on the shadows that have long held us captive. To offer our vulnerability is to extend a hand, to bridge the gap between our inner world and the outer world, seeking a connection that transcends the superficial. The fear of judgment often silences our deepest truths, but it is in the sharing of these truths that we find liberation and the potential for genuine connection. True intimacy is born not in the absence of fear, but in the courage to share it, to allow another to witness the vulnerability that makes us human. The act of revealing our deepest fears is an invitation to empathy, a plea for understanding, a hope that our vulnerability will be met with compassion. In the shared space of vulnerability, we discover the beauty of our interconnectedness, the realization that we are not alone in our fears and struggles. The courage to be vulnerable is the courage to be seen, to be heard, to be accepted in our entirety, flaws and all. To lay bare our fears is to offer a glimpse into the depths of our humanity, a testament to the shared experiences that bind us together. The fear of being rejected for our vulnerabilities can be a powerful deterrent, but the potential for genuine connection makes the risk worthwhile. In the vulnerability of our shared stories, we find solace, a sense of belonging, and the realization that our fears are not unique to us. To reveal our deepest fears is to extend an olive branch, a gesture of trust, hoping that our vulnerability will be met with understanding and acceptance. The journey to self-acceptance is a journey of vulnerability, a willingness to embrace the parts of ourselves we've long tried to hide. True connection is built on the foundation of honesty and vulnerability, where the masks we wear are replaced with the authentic expression of our true selves. The fear of being seen as weak often prevents us from sharing our vulnerabilities, but it is in these moments of vulnerability that we find our greatest strength. To share our fears is to create a space for empathy, a sanctuary where we can be ourselves without fear of judgment.